I'll give it a couple of seconds because it takes some time before the recording part actually gets through. Okay, it should definitely be picking up my voice now. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, my honey. Hello, my darling. Hello, my something something. I don't know the rest of the song. So, first and foremost, let me tell you what the heck is going on. So, the reason why I'm not speaking to you face to face is because of two reasons. One, I quite literally do not have the storage space on my cellular device to be able to record something, upload it to YouTube, go through that process on my phone. My phone is old and decrepit, and a video of this size, I cannot be able to get it done on there. However, if I do this loophole where I record something on a screen and then download that, it takes up less memory for much longer. That's why, if you look at this channel, I have hour-long videos of games, but most of my in-person videos are very short, because they need to be. That out the way, I am a senior. I am a close to being a graduate of the first set of students that will graduate from SBC, South Bronx Community Charter High School. I might as well give the entire address at this point, but I won't. And I, first and foremost, let's keep this a buck. I'm gonna tell you about this piece I made for you regarding 11th grade, because I wrote it, and I intend to use it as much as I don't like reading things directly when I'm trying to speak to someone. But I'll read it to you, and then I'm gonna talk to you from my cold blue and black heart. So, this piece is directed towards the 11th graders, and here it is. Reminder, I'm going to start playing a video now, which is actually on a game. Don't ask how the heck I'm doing this. Do not read those subtitles. You see Dennis, Kent, do not read the subtitles. Just listen to the sound of my voice, please. If you try to read subtitles and listen to me, you're going to get confused. I don't know how people can possibly do that. So, let's start. This is to all my 11th graders. Welcome to the 11th grade. It's important to get formalities and such out of the way immediately, because there are things we need to get into. This is probably going to be the hardest of the 4 years for you, depending on where you see yourself going in the coming future, regarding higher education and such. But, good job. Not a lot of people can say they've been here, and look at you, ready to close out high school. At this point for me, I still don't feel like I had a lot to show for it. The most I'd gotten done outside of the obvious part of, passing the previous grades was just attending a Black Lives Matter march for some extra credit. This was before the whole debacle that's going on in our nation right now. Reminder, disclaimer, this was 3 years ago, soon to be 4 years ago. So please do not get it twisted. To tell you a little bit about that march, we had to walk from Bariqua College, which is where SBC, that's where we first were. We were at Bariqua, not at that actual properly made institution. The campus, there we go. We had to walk all the way from Bariqua College to Trump Tower. And it started snowing on our adventure. Very good exercise, I guess, but never again, thank you. Apologies if you hear things like or I am talking into a microphone, you have to remember. I wish I could harp on about all the great trials and tribulations of high school thus far, but from personal experience, I didn't have a lot. So, I'll imagine it to be the same for you. Another small anecdote. I was part of the Lab Rats. That's what I'll call the legacy stage. The classes and educational experience we had was a lot more convoluted than what our future generations were granted, being you guys and gals. Just to give you an idea, we didn't have a math class in 9th grade. I'm sure you've heard the jokes of us freshmen, or us seniors, excuse me, who were once freshmen, back in our freshman year. Excuse me. Back in our freshman year, in math class, we were doing things such as tying knots and making maps. Things that you would probably do in a history class. That's what our math class was. Shout out Mario. And we had a class that, this was in 10th grade, we had a class that randomly became invalid about halfway through the year. It was called Technology and Entrepreneurship. A very grandiose name with high expectations, and the class, from the sound of it, I mean, I was excited. I don't know about my fellow students, but That seemed like a class I would have enjoyed. That class fell apart. That was interesting. It was essentially a fancy name for what boiled down to the same thing every day. So let's continue now officially. Excuse me. I do not have a drink with me, and I will be talking a lot, so you'll hear a lot of lip smacking and pauses. So, to start, classes and the dreaded attainments. So I feel if attainments were a person and they had a quote, it would go something like, "Is it me? Or is it the GPA?" Because that was and still is something that I never understood about SBC. So here's the gist. Get 80% of the attainments for your class, like they ask you, and bam, you should be at around a 3.0 or either, excuse me, you should be at around either a 3.0, a little below it or above it. Don't worry about that whole, do colleges even look at what an attainment is? Do not worry about it. That's what upper management, such as John and Natalie and them, that's what they've signed up for. Don't be confused, because they're the ones who set that up. Leave it to them. They do the dirty work. That is not your duty. SBC gets to handle that debacle themselves. You just be the good student that you are, hopefully. So let's get into things that are a little extracurricular. An internship or a job, which is two things that, or excuse me, that's what I got into in my 11th grade, my first ever. So, at 11th grade, you should be around the age that you can be hired as a fledgling intern for a wide variety of corporations. Money is involved in this one, so you might want to listen up if you haven't. Actually, side note, let's sidetrack. If you get on videos like this and you don't actually listen to what the heck someone's trying to tell you, sort your life out. Anyways, excuse me. You need, if nothing changed from how it was back in my 11th grade, you need at least 100 hours of internship experience, or they will dangle that diploma in your face come senior year, or so they say. Now, it's not that hard of a process, and especially with how proactive us future generations have been with getting jobs. But let's say you're like me. Here's what I did. And what I mean when I say, but let's say you're like me, in terms of how I did it, how I made no moves towards securing an internship, or any of that until basically I realized, okay, this needs to get done. I would rather do this ASAP, even though I could have done it sooner. So here's what I did. I waited until the summer. That's right. I am not going to be working two jobs as a youth. I'll do that slave labor when I am out of school officially. You missed me with that. So I waited until the summer. I got in touch with an organization called Futures and Options, secured a position as an intern at a place called Silvercup Studios as a lighting and grip intern. It was physical labor for the 100+ hours that I was there, handling movie equipment. And I got them hours, didn't I? That was the biggest exercise of my life, and it was grueling. It was the Oregon Trail, modernized, but I saw it through. Last thing I'm going to do is give up, although I've come close. Lickety split. You can and should do the same as I did. If not, if it won't be that easy for you, because all of this stuff is anecdotal, if not, ask your peers, your staff. I'm sure they can help look for some connections. And don't just think that the school is your only support. You can also ask, people in the fam. Maybe you have older siblings, distant relatives you've never seen before. Look for them, see what the heck they're doing. Hey, can you hook me up somehow? Don't always look towards school to answer your school problems. I like that one, eh? Next up, let's discuss the reality of all this. It's not supposed to be easy. At 11th grade, I think I was 16. Okay, yeah, I was 16. And 16 was probably the most dramatic year for me on an emotional basis. That could be chalked up to the whole aging process, puberty and such, but there were also things at home that let me shed the skin off my former self and craft who I wanted to be. The lowest of lows for me were definitely during this year, as I was battling a lot of stuff mentally, at home, with my academics, and it reflected in my academics. And this was towards the latter half of the year. Not latter half, but after post-January, so we're around the middle of the school year. I had essentially earned a promotion in doubt at that point. Mind you, Excuse me. Last time I had a promotion in doubt was in middle school, and I have told many stories with my peers about my middle school and how middle school honestly probably ruined what I thought of education for me because, man, that place was not good. But I'm not here to talk about middle school. So at that point, after getting a promotion in doubt, let me enunciate. At that point, I had a lot of wonders on if SBC was where I was going to be graduating from. And after talking with staff and with some folks in the fam, even though I didn't really let them know how I was feeling, I'm very reclusive in that nature. And I came to the conclusion it's got to happen. There's no other options. I've come too far, you know? I'm not known for my quitting capabilities anyway, and I sure didn't want to start it when I'm that close to finishing high school. So I battled my demons and I persevered through it, to eventually reaching graduation in the following year. You know, this year, the one that I'm. See, the funny thing about this is I'm saying this to you as if I've graduated. For all I know, there could be a mystery class that's holding me back, and I could be a super senior. But I'm going to talk to you like I have succeeded and I already have my PhD in something. Excuse me. I really need a drink. Oh, good lord. Good grief, Cargo. So just know that everybody reaches a breaking point at some point in their journey. The question is more so, how will you handle it? And I'm sure you'll be fine. Last point that I want to be very brief about in this writing piece, as it's more connected to me and my journey in high school. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what student you should or should strive to be, but it's okay to be an underachiever. One of the things that's always bugged me is, and this is going off of the essay, this is sidetracking from the essay, because I've been reading an essay to you. Sidetracking from the essay, something that's always bugged me about schools is we teach everybody to be a leader, and we never teach people how to be good followers. We always put ourselves to these extremely high standards, and you know, everyone's gonna set off and reach a higher education. All of you are gonna become great things. Everyone knows the reality. Not all of us will achieve the greatest things. Not all of us will be doctors. Not all of us will be engineers. Some of us may end up working at the bodega. Um, so yeah, I don't think you should really instill that mindset into your head because I know I didn't. Although it might help you, you know, help you see the biggest prospects for yourself. I didn't do that, to keep it a buck with you. I've always been complacent with where I want to see myself. Even though that's still not set in stone, mind you, at this point in your life, nothing is guaranteed. Don't speak in absolutes because nothing is absolute. Isn't that a quote from Assassin's Creed? No, Assassin's Creed is everything is true, nothing is permitted. Right? I don't know Assassin's Creed. Anyways, let me get back to the essay. It's okay to be an underachiever. A lot of what defeats people at this stage in the game is the prospect of, what if... But what now? That's never something I've lingered on personally. For example, this may come as a surprise to you. I never applied to college. I didn't apply. I know that was probably a huge upset to a lot of people, a lot of staff. I know folks in my family, especially the life givers, one of them. Let me stop throwing shade. Um, I know that was going to be upsetting to people. Oh, excuse me, something. Okay, sorry. It was definitely a huge upset to the staff that I've worked with over the past 4 years, but it's just not what I want, at least not immediately. Remember, nothing is absolute. I could have applied, maybe I should have applied. And if I did, I guarantee I would have been accepted by many institutions that would have opened their doors to me. They would open their doors wide for me. Throughout my whole time in school as a whole, I mentioned this earlier, I've always been a bare minimum student. Like, so long as it's a 3, it could be a 3.00. If it's a 3, I'm fine. Because, you know, a 3 is what I've always heard is passing. Although apparently a 2.5 is passing. Man, I still don't know. Yeah, I've always been a bare minimum student who could easily get more, but I've just never applied the effort. So long as it was enough to pass, I've been happy. And that still, frankly, is how it is. Spoiler alert, you want to hear my final GPA as a graduating senior? 3.3. There's probably some hilarious irony about the amount of discussions I've had in these student-led conferences and talks with the folks and staff about, you could always do this better, you could always do this, and, I'll nod my head, say, mm-hmm, got it, yes, mm-hmm, I'll look into it, that's a good suggestion, and then just never setting forth for it. I've never tried to be an overachiever in school. That's just how it is, and it led to this. I graduate with a 3.03 GPA. I don't know. I feel like there's something almost poetic about it. Let me not say that in a good way. Like, I'm not saying this to humble brag. Like, oh, I put in the minimum effort and I passed. That's nothing to gloat about. Good job. Like, good for you. You graduated, but people will always hold those that actually set to achieve something big. They'll always hold them in higher regards. And I imagine that's how people may look at me. Excuse me. Yeah, so long as I saw that 3.0, I was happy with it. It's brought me success thus far, and I do not have any regrets. I think it's dangerous to live with those things. And so, regarding this writing piece, that's really all there is. Even if you may not have a lot to show for it, reaching the 11th grade. Oh God, hold on. Excuse me. That's all there really is I have to say. Even if you don't have a lot to show for it as an 11th grader, you can still emerge with a lot more. Job experience, the most rigorous work of high school. Now is when you can really gain that knowledge and the connections, because this is honestly the make it or break it point. It was for me. And believe it or not, although I shouldn't say believe it or not because they hyped it up this way, senior year is really easy. So long as you haven't, been left back, so long as you're not missing any classes, please try to succeed. Now, look, I know I just mentioned how I graduate with the minimal, the tiniest, the barest effort, right? Please, for the sake of Lord Vinderman, you don't know who that is. Please, at least pass everything. Don't leave any regents behind. Pass every class that you need to. Do not let this stuff add up. Yo, when it adds up, it really pained me to see in senior year some of my peers that had full schedules when we were having borderline free periods because we didn't mess anything up. And mind you, as said, nothing's guaranteed. This also happens with your classes. For me, I am honestly blessed by the gods to have passed math because to this day I still have the mindset that we should have never left the 4 basic operations in elementary school. All the other math past that, I have no idea. I can't make an equation. I can't do an improper fraction. I don't know what the hell mixed numbers are. How did you pass? Don't ask. Do not ask. I passed. That's all you need to know. So, yeah. So long as you succeed in everything, senior year will be the easiest, guaranteed. There's really barely any work for you to do if you succeeded thus far. And trust and believe, even if I may never address you by name, I believe in you. And you should believe in yourself. And regardless of how you're feeling, do not stop now. You've gotten way too far, and you've gotten, hopefully, too good at it. Good luck. Have fun. Because there's no other way to live. Because you need to graduate high school. So that's all I have in the writing piece. Let me tell you a bit of heart to heart. As a graduating person from South Bronx Community Charter High School, as part of the first ever people to graduate, I feel like SBC wasn't the right high school for me to go to. I would recommend you to go to SBC because it's a much better school for you than it was for me, I believe. Classes like government and such, we didn't have that. In ninth grade, we didn't have a math class, as I said to you, if you remember. So I'm sure it's a lot better for you now. I actually don't know how it is because I'd only talk to people in my grade. I don't have a single friend in 11th, 10th, or ninth. So I don't know how it is. I really just go off of what I'm hearing in the hallway at lunch or whatever. And it sounds like it's a lot better than what I remember. SBC was a weird school to go to. High school. They prop it up. They really hype this thing up. At least they did in my middle school. And obviously, going into a brand new school, it did not live up to the expectations. There were no clubs. No teams. Everything was being worked on. As said, I felt like we were lab rats, with the things that were going on. I mean, have you ever heard of a class just randomly becoming invalid at a halfway point in 10th grade? I mean, what? An entire grade, your first grade of high school, you don't have a math class? Like, how's that possible? That's just how it was. And I feel I could have done a lot better in terms of making connections and such. In fact, I don't feel, I know. I know with certainty I could have done a lot better. I mean, I don't have any phone numbers. I don't have any pictures. I don't have any emails except their school emails. And I could have done a lot more to, assert myself as a member of the school community. I think I'm well respected among my peers. I think everyone knows who I am, but there's not much really that there's not many achievements I have. There's not many I really sought out for. Never performed in a talent show. I really wanted to perform Old Town Brisket at the last talent show we had, but I didn't know we were even having a talent show. Um, Missed out on that opportunity. A lot of things I wish I could have done better, and not to blame the school because I did end up completing it, but I feel as though if I went into an actual high school that was already set in stone many years ago, with systems in place, clubs, instruments, all sorts of extracurricular things in motion, I think that would have really changed my view set regarding my education and my future aspirations in life. I mean, you heard it. I didn't apply to college. And this is coming from someone who went to the HBCU college tour. I don't know if you guys are still having that, but it was a week-long trip around many states in the country and just touring universities. Some of these universities, the staff that hosted this, that set this whole thing up, that went to, and they made very convincing arguments, and it was a very good experience. I can say that. It was a very positive experience, and it gave me a lot of insight as to why people set out to reach this higher education, even if where they're coming from, their background, it might seem like it's an impossible thing, an impossible theory with everyone around you not doing it, everyone around you failing, but you want to set something higher than what people might think you can reach. And didn't apply. So if I wanted to go to college, I would still need at least another year. So in the direct future looks towards a job, and make the most out of this, okay? I know you've probably heard that a million times, but coming from me, please make the most out of every experience you can get here in high school because it's only going to happen once. You're not going to have another experience like high school, regardless of what you do in the future. College isn't school. College is an entirely different thing, so don't think of college as school like I did. I always thought of college as just, high school 2. High school the sequel. And that's not what college is. College is much more. It's a lot better. And even with the knowledge of this, I still haven't applied myself. I know that might seem weird, but frankly, I cannot explain everything to you in terms of my mindset. Whatever's going on in this chrome dome of mine, it's freaking ridiculous, okay? And just know that this is a very good experience. You've come to the right school. Regardless of how you feel at some point, know that the staff there are with you. I don't know about your peers. Trust and believe. When I think of a school and its reputation, never hold that to the students. Always hold the staff accountable. The staff are there for you, though. Trust and believe. All of them are excellent people who might be going through the same thing you're going through. I mean, no shade, but I mean, Travis, like, come on, G. You can ask him about that if he's still there. Yeah. I don't wanna flood your mind with not my nonsense rambling, so I think I should cut it off short here. Know you've went to the right school. I graduated, and if I did, you can too. A lot of people I didn't think would graduate are also gonna, well, we can't walk down the stage because the Rona, but they also succeeded, and they're going to places that I can't go to yet, and I couldn't be happier for them, man. And you can do the same. Don't burn yourself out. It's okay to be an underdog. It's okay to be an underachiever. Be what you want to be. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Build your plan. believe you can. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me. You better have.